Hello, my name's Craig. I'd like to take some time to talk about something that doesn't seem to get a lot of attention, either in school or even college, and that's the topic of debt. Debt's something that seems to be something everybody gets saddled with at one point in their life or another. The problem is that since it hasn't gone over very much, a lot of us don't understand what debt is and what it can do to you financially. It can be very devastating. Could you imagine being debt free? Is that simple idea something that you even think about? Well, you should. Debt is one of the most influential aspects of our adult life, and it's draining us every single month. A study done in 2016 tells us the average household has around $15,000 in credit card debt, and nearly $140,000 in debt, including the home. What this means is we're spending thousands of dollars each month and each year to borrow money. When you really think about it, it just doesn't make any good financial sense. I'd like to share my story about debt with you. I consider myself to be an average American. I have average spending habits, but I can't remember a single time in my adult life I haven't had a car payment or credit card payment for that matter. And then, of course, when you add in student loans, having children, there really isn't a whole lot left at the end of the month. All these can be categorized, in my opinion, as bad debt. Debt that's draining you month after month, year after year, without any end in sight. Something always seems to come up, and it seems like we can never get ahead. So what is bad debt, you might ask? The definition of bad debt is just something that's uncollectible. If you were to, Google it, Wikipedia, what does bad debt mean? However, I feel it has an even stronger meaning on a personal level to you and me. Bad debt is debt that ties you down. It holds you back from something else that you could be doing with that money, such as saving or investing for retirement. The fancy cars that we own or the nice expensive TV that we bought with a credit card that we just couldn't afford is an example of that bad debt. And that comes to a point that there's issues contributing to the credit misuse. Part of that issue is the cost of living, which has increased dramatically year after year. Studies have shown the cost of living has continually increased, wages are not keeping pace, followed by mounting debt students are leaving college with. It's just a recipe for disaster. On top of that, it's so easy to get credit. You can go get a credit card, you'll be bombarded with tons and tons of credit card applications as soon as it seems like you get out of high school. And anyone with a pulse can get one. So I guess some people probably without could. The problem is we're all told to get a card or two and build some credit. That's what I was told when I was in high school by my parents, by teachers. But the problem to me seems like we get that credit card and we're not building credit, we're buying credit. We're basically given money that we didn't earn and use it for something we probably don't need, and then we enter the world of debt. All this is compounded when you're having trouble making ends meet because the job market isn't nearly as strong as you were told it was going to be when you finish college. So we end up having to turn to debt to survive in hopes of increasing our income before the debt buries us. In many cases, mine included, that never seemed to work out. We start to make more money and then consequently we start spending more money and we don't really attend to that debt like we had initially planned. And to get rid of it, we figured out how to survive with the debt, and it become kind of reserved to a life of debt. It's just kind of a norm for all of us. So why is it important to get rid of debt? Or more importantly, never get into debt to begin with? I think there's a common misconception actually surrounding debt. Debt is not a good thing, especially when used improperly. I know you're probably thinking, well, how can I afford a home without going into debt? But that's for another conversation. But the idea is, for something like a home, to save up a large down payment, around 25%, and use a 15-year fixed mortgage with a plan to pay it off sooner. I mean, the money we spend on interest is astronomical, and it can really add up. I mean, can you guess how much money you would have spent on interest on, say, a low interest rate loan, like 4% on a $250,000 home? That's kind of an average price for a home with a 30-year fixed mortgage. Here's a hint: it's a lot. About $233,000. That's nearly the price of the house you bought. It's when you really think about it, it's kind of unbelievable. The funny thing is, you actually borrowed money from the bank, most of which they don't even have, to buy that home. If you're interested in what I mean, when you get a chance, look up why banks don't need your money to make loans. It's a very interesting subject if you're so inclined. Moving on, debt is really holding us all back from doing what we enjoy. What would you do if you had money, but you weren't saddled down by those car payments or that mortgage payment? Really let that sink in. It's a powerful thought. It's not an impossible goal and might be the key to our future success. Not having massive debt opens up our opportunity. Maybe it's a career change that isn't held back by the requirements of security of having a job, or rather the credit card payments that must be paid. I can personally tell you the road ahead is bumpy if you're like I was. Less than 1 year ago, I had probably $75,000 worth of debt, not including my house. Some was credit cards, some was student loans, but mostly auto loans, and I'll have them all paid off completely within the next month. So there is hope for us all. I'm looking forward to the day when the only bills I have are my mortgage and utilities. Absolute bliss. I can't wait. Here is what I did, and why it's important for anyone else to consider my madness. The most important part of anyone getting out of debt is to change their mind about it. They need to look at debt and be disgusted. That's how I feel. That monthly draining makes me sick and tired of that's how I finally did something about it. To add to the changing your mind of debt, you'll need to change your spending habits as well. Because believe it or not, money is not the problem here. We are. We make the bad decisions. We must live with them. And it's time to stop making bad decisions and start making good ones. Easier said than done for sure, but that's where the plan comes in. This is not an advertisement for anyone or a service, rather a fundamental list of goals that revolve around the debt snowball. If you've not heard of the debt snowball, take some time and look it up online. A man named Dave Ramsey developed it, and if you're serious about getting out of debt, I highly recommend looking at the snowball method as a way to get out of debt. The main point here is actually having a plan and sticking to it. Arguably, the most important part of changing your spending habits is having a solid plan and following it. In conclusion, what I want to impress upon anyone hearing me is to take some time to consider my message. Your life is your responsibility, much like mine is my own. However, the culture of debt and irresponsibility has swept through America seemingly overnight. Unfortunately, it's not nearly as easy or as fast to get out of debt as it was to get into debt. But there is light at the end of the tunnel if you just look for it.